Every few years, something happens in the Bitcoin market that completely changes the game. Prices explode, millions are made, and then most people hear about it too late. It's called the Bitcoin halving, and if you don't understand it, you're already behind. Today, I'm going to break it down simply. No jargon, no hype. Just the mechanics, the history, and what it actually means for your money. Let's get into it. First, what exactly is a Bitcoin halving? When Bitcoin was created, miners were rewarded with 50 Bitcoin every time they validated a block of transactions. Think of it as their paycheck for keeping the network running. But Satoshi Nakamoto, Bitcoin's creator, built in a rule. Every 210,000 blocks mined, roughly every 4 years, that reward gets cut in half. So it went from 50 to 25 to 12.5 to 6.25. And in April 2024, it dropped to 3.125 Bitcoin per block. That's the halving, simple as that. But here's the question that actually matters. Why does cutting miner rewards cause Bitcoin's price to move so dramatically? Think about it this way. Imagine gold miners suddenly produced half as much gold overnight, but demand stayed the same or even grew. What happens to the price of gold? It goes up. Bitcoin works the same way. Every day, miners sell some of their newly mined Bitcoin to cover their electricity and operating costs. This constant selling creates sell pressure on the market. When the halving hits, that daily supply of new Bitcoin gets cut in half, overnight. Miners are now selling less, but buyers, they're still buying the same amount or more. You have a supply shock hitting a market with growing demand. And historically, the market takes time to absorb this. But when it does, prices move. Let's look at what actually happened after each halving. After the first halving in November 2012, Bitcoin went from around $12 to over $1,000 within a year. After the second halving in July 2016, Bitcoin climbed from around $650 all the way to nearly $20,000 by December 2017. After the third halving in May 2020, Bitcoin went from roughly $8,500 to an all-time high of around $69,000 by November 2021. Now, I'm not saying history repeats perfectly. It never does. Markets evolve, more institutional money is involved, and the cycle dynamics shift each time. But the pattern tells us something important. The halving creates a structural shift in supply. And structural shifts in supply have consequences. The key thing most people miss? The biggest price moves don't happen immediately after the halving. They typically happen 12 to 18 months later. That delay is what causes most retail investors to either miss it or buy in at the top. Here's what most crypto channels won't tell you. The halving doesn't operate in isolation. It works with, or against, the broader macro environment. Look at the 2020 halving. It didn't just happen in a vacuum. The Fed had slashed interest rates to zero and was printing money at historic levels. The dollar was weakening, money was flowing into risk assets. Bitcoin had the perfect macro tailwind. Contrast that with 2022, when the Fed started hiking rates aggressively. Even though we were technically in a post-halving period, tightening macro conditions crushed risk assets, including Bitcoin. The lesson? The halving sets the supply conditions, but macro sets the environment those conditions play out in. Right now, with the 2024 halving behind us, the question isn't just, will Bitcoin go up? The real question is, what is the Fed doing? Where is the dollar heading? And is global liquidity expanding or contracting? Those are the factors I'll be tracking on this channel every single week. So to summarize, the Bitcoin halving is a programmed supply reduction that happens every 4 years. Historically, it has preceded major bull markets, with the biggest moves occurring 12 to 18 months after the event. But, and this is important, it doesn't work in isolation. The macro environment matters just as much. If you want to understand how macro forces, like Fed policy, the dollar index, and global liquidity connect to Bitcoin and gold price movements, this channel is for you. Hit subscribe. I publish every week. And if you want to go deeper on the 2024 halving setup specifically, the next video covers exactly that. See you there.